wouldn't bet on the knockout. But I want to see what the odds are, and on a decision victory for Crawford, I might be even putting some money on him.
Yeah.
You never know. If the odds are enticing enough at that stage of his career, there's nothing more that Canelo wants to accomplish in boxing.
The unthinkable is happening. Terrence Bud Crawford, a 3-division world champion with immaculate skills and an undefeated record, is stepping up to face the red-headed powerhouse of Mexican boxing, Saul Canelo Alvarez. With a fight now official for September at Allegiant Stadium, fans and experts alike are divided, buzzing with predictions, doubts, and anticipation. Can Bud's ring IQ and timing overcome Canelo's size, strength, and experience at higher weight classes? Let's dive into what 18 boxing pros and legends had to say about this historic clash. As suspense builds and opinions collide, Mikey Garcia acknowledges Crawford's superior boxing skill, calling him the more technically sound fighter, but ultimately give the edge to Canelo. This isn't a contradiction, it's a stark reality many fighters see. Skill doesn't always overcome physics, and Garcia implies that the sheer size and strength advantage of Canelo might be too much. Even though Bud's technique is elite, the physical danger Canelo brings could tilt the outcome. Garcia's take represents the mindset of many insiders who admire Crawford's craft, but hesitate to pick him over a naturally bigger man with proven power at higher weights.
He can box. Look, I'll tell you, skilled-wise, Crawford is the better boxer. Crawford is the better skilled, natural
That's what he believes is.
skilled fighter. But who's going to win? I think Crawford's going to win. I think Canelo's going to win.
What happens when
Garcia further underscores the idea that Canelo has nothing left to prove. At this stage in his career, Canelo is not chasing legacy, he's chasing paydays and historic matchups. That motivation, while different, doesn't necessarily weaken his resolve. It means he can enter this bout relaxed, experienced, and focus on execution rather than validation. That composure may contrast with Crawford's hunger, creating an interesting dynamic. One man fighting to cement greatness, the other defending a legacy already written.
At that stage of his career, there's nothing more that Canelo wants to accomplish in boxing.
Daniel Cormier offers an important psychological insight. Canelo's dominance often intimidates opponents into survival mode rather than combat. This fear factor limits fan-pleasing action, but also speaks to Canelo's reputation as a punisher. If Bud falls into that same trap, hesitating out of self-preservation, it could hurt his chances. Crawford's challenge isn't just about boxing well, it's about staying mentally aggressive against someone who's used to making fighters second-guess every exchange.
Canelo Alvarez fights, and at times, when a guy is as dominant as Canelo, his dance partner will not engage or will not fight at the level that you expect a championship level boxer to fight at because of the fear, the worry of what may happen. Nobody wants to become.
Garcia reflects on Canelo's past choices in pursuit of meaningful challenges. He talked about the IBF situation and suggests that Canelo is beyond title belts. He's now operating on a legacy and money wavelength. This adds weight to the Crawford bout. It's not just a payday, but a stylistic risk. Canelo doesn't need belts anymore. He needs mega fights to maintain relevance. And that mindset could mean he's taking Crawford seriously, even if he knows the public is on his side regarding size and power.
So that's what he's doing.
obviously if he gets past this fight, captures the IBF, becomes two-time undisputed, the
well,
Crawford fight is there.
You know, he already had that title.
Right.
He vacated because the IBF was pushing him for that mandatory. He didn't give a fuck about that mandatory, so he vacated the title.
Right.
Now that Skull got the title, now he's like, oh, now we'll take the fight. He doesn't give a fuck about the titles no more.
Yeah.
He cares about the fucking money, bro.
The bag.
That's what he cares about, and I can't blame him for that. Shit, he already accomplished everything. It's not about the...
Mikey Garcia also brings up a crucial point about motivation. He believes that Canelo has achieved more than even he expected, so his only current motivator is financial. That matters because while Crawford might come in with intensity and fire, Canelo could be treating it more like business. This could either be a trap for Bud underestimating a man focused on profit or vulnerability if Canelo underestimates the danger in front of him. Either way, Garcia paints a picture of two fighters driven by very different forces.
How much more than he ever imagined.
Right.
So there's nothing really in it for him to motivate him other than the fucking bag of money that he's gonna make.
He's gonna make a bag.
He's gonna set himself up for generations, you know. I really think that his goals in life are no longer in boxing. his goals are outside. He wants to become...
Cormier emphasizes how a lackluster opponent can make even a superstar look flat. He references a recent Canelo fight where the opponent didn't engage, making the bout forgettable. This is relevant for Crawford because fans will expect him not only to survive, but to challenge Canelo. If Bud boxes too cautiously, he risks being part of another underwhelming fight. But if he opens up too much, he could walk into a counter. This tension is what makes the bout so hard to predict.
My highlight last night, Canelo Alvarez had a fight. That was essentially the case. The guy kind of ran the whole time. And Canelo, while winning, it wasn't the performance that makes you go, oh my God, I love this guy, right? This is why we tune into Canelo. You know Canelo is box office. We know Canelo's money. But when you don't have a dance partner, it's hard to make those memories.
Garcia turns back to the issue of weight, noting how Bud lacked pop in his last fight at 154. If that trend continues at 160 or even 168, it could be a problem. Canelo is not just a bigger guy, he's a big guy used to fighting big guys. Bud might outbox him for stretches, but if the punches don't sting, Canelo could walk him down without fear. Garcia's analysis shows that physicality, not skill, might dictate the tempo of this bout.
It's going to be too much weight.
I think he'll box the decision, but I think Canelo's way too big and strong, and I think Canelo wins. You saw this difference already in his last fight when he fought at 154. Crawford didn't have the pop. He didn't have, all that.
Against Madrimov, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Mikey Garcia takes it further, asking what happens if Crawford gets clipped. A flush shot from Canelo could be more than just a knockdown. It could cause serious, lasting damage. Garcia speculates that Bud might get hurt and decide to coast the final bell, focusing on survival rather than victory. And in that moment, fans may feel the letdown of seeing a super fight devolve into a safety-first display. It's a chilling reminder the stakes Bud is stepping into fighting not just for legacy, but risking health in the process.
He takes a shot from Canelo. One of those uppercuts from Munguia or those...
He could get dropped, or he feels it enough to be like, fuck this, I'm boxing. And then goes on the bicycle and turns southpaw for the rest of the night. And I wouldn't blame him either. Fuck it, you're going to go in there and collect a fucking paycheck at that point.
Right.
You're not going to go get hurt.
Right.
What good is it to get fucking 20, 30 million if you are fucking hurt physically, end up in the hospital and hurt just physically, life-changing, you don't want that shit.
Daniel Cormier announces the official fight date and offers perspective on how much Bud has grown literally and figuratively. Once a small fighter, Crawford now fills out the 154 frame, but Cormier questions whether that's enough. He's not just fighting a bigger man, he's fighting a man who's been a champion at far higher weights. This physical mismatch is the heart of the suspense. Can elite technique truly make up for 15 to 20 pounds of natural weight difference?
We get it. It's official. Canelo Alvarez will now fight Terence Crawford September 12th, Allegiant Stadium. He'll defend this Ring Magazine championship against Bud, giving Bud an opportunity to become a three-time world champion, 3 divisions, super world champion, Mr. Everything. Clearly, they are not the same size. Terence Crawford used to be a small guy. Now he's grown into what will be about a 154-pounder, I'd imagine. They'd fight around 154, 160. Luis, I would love if you can give me what weight classes me contest to that.
Mikey Garcia adds a stark, almost ominous note. Canelo's power could result in life-changing consequences. Detaching retinas, breaking bones, or suffering concussions aren't far-fetched scenarios when you're in with someone like Alvarez. But he ends on a twist acknowledging that if Crawford wins, he earns his place among the greatest of all time. That's what makes this fight compelling. Bud is risking everything for a shot at immortality, and that risk the danger of ruin or the reward of legacy fuels the suspense heading into September.
I think Canelo can hurt him. It could be life-changing.
Good, he's not big, fool. One punch could fucking knock him out bad enough to hurt his eye socket or detach retina. You never fucking know.
Right.
So no one wants that shit.
Crawford said if he beats him, he's in the top 3 GOATs of all time.
Oh, for sure. If Crawford beats Canelo, then for sure. Give him all the fucking props in the world, bro. And he actually does have a chance. It's not like he doesn't have a chance. He's a better boxer. Well-rounded boxing skills. He is a better boxer.
and a rare moment of balance. Mikey Garcia reveals he might put money on a Crawford decision victory, though he leans toward Canelo knockout. This shows how unpredictable the fight is, even for seasoned experts. Garcia acknowledges that Bud's skills and strategy could, over 12 rounds, frustrate Canelo and earn him a points win. Yet the possibility of a single, fight-ending punch from Canelo always lingers. That's a paradox. While Bud might win on points, the threat of a sudden knockout keeps most bettors cautious.
I wouldn't bet on the knockout, but I want to see what the odds are, and on the decision victory for Crawford, I might be even putting some money on them.
Yeah.
You never know. If the odds are enticing enough.
Daniel Cormier shifts the focus to timing and age. By the time these two warriors clash, Crawford will be 36 and Canelo 34. While both are still elite, there's a lingering question. Did this super fight come a few years too late? Would a 32-year-old Crawford have posed a greater threat? Would a younger Canelo have been more aggressive? Cormier raises a subtle regret shared by many boxing fans that while the bout is massive, the prime versus prime window may have already passed.
They should have fought. By the time Terence Crawford and Canelo fight, Bud will be 36, Canelo will be 34 years old. Now, I'm not saying those guys are done. By no means. They're still the two best boxers in the world. But imagine if we got those guys in their late 20s, right? Or 3 to 4 years ago. It is still going to be a monster. I don't imagine it's going to be anything less than super successful. But should it have happened a couple years ago?
Cormier follows up by breaking down Crawford's accomplishments. Bud is undefeated, a multi-division world champion, and still adding to his resume. But he's forcing Canelo to fight at 154, a weight class Canelo hasn't made in years. That detail could become a factor. Is Canelo draining himself, or will he simply rehydrate and bulldoze through Bud? Cormier's insight sharpens the stakes. We're not just watching greatness versus greatness. We're watching a chess match between physical adaptation and pure boxing craft.
They're just as good as they've always been. Crawford is 41-0, 31 KOs. Going up to 154, going to fight Canelo at 154. He's won world titles at lightweight, super lightweight, welterweight, and super welterweight. So he's been a champion everywhere. But Bud's going to make Canelo fight at 54. I don't know that Canelo's been fighting at 54 for a while. Remember all those b-ball fights were up at like 175 for Canelo Alvarez. They're two of the best boxers in the world.
Teofimo Lopez confidently sides with Canelo, noting the size disparity as the key factor. Even though he acknowledges Crawford's superior ring IQ, Lopez cautions that Bud should have tested himself at a higher weight first. This sentiment echoes what many fighters feel Crawford is jumping into the deep end without wading through the division. It's a high-risk, high-reward move, and if Bud miscalculates the weight jump, he might find himself overwhelmed before his skills can even come into play.
Crawford, Canelo, who you got?
Crawford, Canelo? I still say Canelo.
I got Canelo too.
I still say Canelo. Ring IQ, I believe that Crawford has a bit more.
Yep.
However, it's just the size difference. I think that where Crawford is lacking is that he should test the waters even with somebody at that weight class before facing Canelo.
Lopez then praises Crawford's mental toughness, referencing an infamous incident where Bud was shot in the head and still drove himself to the hospital. This anecdote highlights why so many fans still give Bud a shot. His grit, his mental fortitude, and his fearlessness are legendary. Lopez respects that, even as he picks against him, Crawford's mentality might be his biggest advantage. Against a man like Canelo, whose composure and experience are unmatched, that psychological steel could prove just as important as strategy.
Hey, they say he's a dog, he's got shot in the head and drove to the hospital, so maybe that's just his mentality.
Hey, let's see. Only one way to find out till that day comes.
It's the only way, but I definitely think that it's a great fight overall. You know, black and brown is how you get down.
Right.
Roy Jones Jr. brings a strategic dimension to the discussion. He explains that the outcome may depend entirely on which Canelo shows up. If Canelo tries to outbox Crawford, he could get exposed. But if he applies pressure with intent and force, he could dominate. This unpredictability adds another layer of suspense because even Canelo's approach isn't guaranteed. Will he try to prove he's a better boxer or remind everyone why he's feared? Roy's breakdown shows that mindset might determine outcome more than raw ability.
You know, it's a hard one to call, and I'm going to tell you why it's a hard one to call. It's a hard one to call because it'll all be predicated upon how Canelo approaches the fight. If Canelo approaches the fight like he's the man and he can box and outbox Terence Crawford, he'll get beat. If he comes out and shows that he really wants to go out and prove whether he's still the best, he might win. So it all depends on which Canelo come to the dance.
Madrimov gives a simple but powerful breakdown. If it goes 12 rounds, Crawford wins. If there's a knockout, it's Canelo. This quote perfectly captures the styles clash. Crawford is a surgeon precise, methodical, elusive. Canelo is a hammer efficient, powerful, and destructive. Madrimov's 50-50 view cuts through the noise. It's not about who's better overall. It's about which style dominates on the night. This clarity makes the matchup even more electrifying. Two men. Two completely different paths to victory.
If 12 rounds, Crawford win, I think.
Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, what do you think about that fight if they did fight? Looks like it's up for September.
Good fight. You know, if 168 pounds, I think it's Canelo, but it's Canelo better technique because
Madrimov ends with high praise for Crawford's abilities, his intelligence, experience, and versatility. Bud's adaptability is what makes him dangerous. Southpaw orthodox inside. Outside, he can fight in any mode. Yet Madrimov still calls the fight a toss-up. That says a lot. Even with all the tactical tools Bud brings, Canelo's presence and size loom over everything. It's a chess match with grenades, and Madrimov's analysis shows why this fight has captured global attention. The suspense isn't just in who wins it and how they'll choose to fight.
50-50. If 12 rounds, Crawford win, I think. If knockout, it's Canelo.
What makes Crawford so difficult to fight against?
He has power, smart, in more practical.
He has more experience. He's very experienced.
As we inch closer to the showdown at Allegiant Stadium, one truth stands above. All this isn't just a boxing match. It's a seismic moment in the sport. Experts can't agree. Fighters who've been in the trenches themselves are split. Some see size, others see skill. Some fear the knockout. Others believe in the chess master's decision win. The predictions are in, and now all that's left is a suspense. September 12th, the ring will answer the question we've all been asking: can Bud make history? Or will Canelo remind the world why he's still the king? Subscribe to Box Up for more expert analysis, legendary predictions, and breakdowns you won't find anywhere else.